Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support. And to my new audience, thank you for stopping by. In this channel, Onye Stitches, we upload videos on sewing tutorials, pattern drafting, sewing tricks, sewing hacks, and DIYs. In today's tutorial, we want to learn how to draft an off-shoulder bustier. So the material you need is your pattern paper, your measuring tape, your scissors, your marker, and make use of pencil and your rollers. This is my pattern master and my ample cuff. The measurement needed is your shoulder measurement, your bust measurement, your under bust measurement, and your waist measurement. So without wasting much of our time, let's go straight into the tutorial. The first thing you will do is for you to impute your vertical measurements. So I will mark a starting point on my pattern paper, which will represent my shoulder line. And this is my center front. See if, as you can see, my paper is on fold. You can decide to use single paper. I just want to use my paper being on fold. So the next measurement I will include will be my bust line. So measure from your shoulder to your bust point. Whatever measurement you have, then you mark it down. The one I'm working with is 10 inches from shoulder to bust point. Then the next one will be from shoulder to under bust. Measure from your shoulder to your under bust. Whatever measurement you have, you mark it down. The one I have here is 14 inches. So I will connect, I will draw a straight line. I'll draw same straight line here. So the next horizontal measurement will be my waist measurement. The waist I'm working with from shoulder to the waist line is 18 inches. So I will draw my 18 inches. I will go ahead to name this my bust line, under bust, waistline. The next thing is for me to impute my shoulder measurement. Measure your shoulder from one side of your shoulder to the other. Whatever measurement you have, you divide it by 2. The one I'm working with is 17 inches. 17 inches divided by 2, that gives me 8.5 inches. I will mark. Then I will slope my shoulder by 1 inch. I will impute my neck measurement. The neck I'm using will be 3 inches neck width and 3 inches neck depth. Though this neck measurement is not really needed since this is off shoulder. So I will connect my neck. The next thing will be for me to join my shoulder slope. Can you see? Now I will determine my armhole. So for you to find your armhole measurement, you divide your bust by 6 plus 1.5. So the bust I'm working with is 40 inches. 40 inches divided by 6 plus 1.5 gives me 8.1. So starting from this, my shoulder slope, I will mark my 8.1 inches. connect it with a straight line. Then I will draw a straight line here, which will represent my chest line. And I'll call this my chest line. You can as well call it your upper bust line. So on that chest line, I will impute my bust measurement, which is 40 divided by 4. For all your horizontal measurement, you're going to divide it by 4. So 40 divided by 4, that gives me 10 inches. So on this line, I'm going to divide it by 2. Then the point that is the center of the line, I will come in by half of an inch. Then I will connect with my armhole curve from here to here and to my shoulder slope. That is my armhole line. Can you see? So basically we are done with the upper part. The thing I will do now will be for me to determine how deep I want my off shoulder to be. So I want it to be 5 inches deep. That's 5 inches below the shoulder line. So you can decide to make use of 6, 7, and even 4. It depends on what you want. It depends on how revealing you want it to be. So I don't want this to show my cleavage. So I will come down by 5 inches. So that is my off shoulder line. The next thing will be for me to impute my dart. So on my bust line, I will impute my bust span divided by 2. That's nipple to nipple measurement. When you measure from one nipple to the other, that's your bust span. Whatever measurement you have, you divide it by 2. So the one I'm working with is 9 inches. When I divide by 2, that gives me 4.5 inches. Or mark same 4.5 on my under bust line and also on my waist line. I'll connect the points to form a straight line. So after drawing this line, the next thing I will do now will be for me to impute my dart. So for you to get your
determine my dart,
you can measure the difference between your bust line and your under bust line. The difference that you have, then you divide it by 2. When you divide it by 2, you impute it on this side, which is your side front, and then whatever you impute in this side, you impute half of it on this side, which is your center front. So the one I'm working with, the difference is 4 inches. So I will impute half of 4 inches, which is 2 inches on this side. Then half of 2 inches is 1. So I will impute 1 on this side. I will impute same on my waistline. Mind you, this method doesn't work for all bust sizes. You can see another of my video on how to draft, cut and sew your bustier. I will drop the link on the description box. You can use that method, fits all the bust sizes. This one doesn't work for all the bust sizes, but for someone that is not that busty, it works for such a person. So the next thing I will do now will be for me to connect here to here and here to here. And before connecting it, I will measure the center of my shoulder, then I will draw a straight line to touch it here. So I will connect it to this point. Can you see? Then I will impute my upper bust tightening, and the upper bust tightening that I want to use will be 0.75 on each side. So on this line, which is where my off shoulder starts, I will measure my 0.75 on each side. So the 0.5 work for bust of 35, 36, even up to 40, 41. But someone that is not busty, you can use half of an inch. For someone that is busty, you can use 1 inch. Can you see? This is my upper bust tightening. So the next thing I will do now will be for me to connect from this point to this point and to this point. Can you see how I place my ruler? Not that curvy to eliminate pointed edge. Even if it doesn't touch the line, this point, that is fine. Can you see how it joined to this other line? Then for this other side, I'll make sure that it touches this center, but not that curvy as well. Can you see how I place my ruler? Can you see? So this is my dart. So I will go ahead to impute my horizontal measurements. So this dart, you need to replace it so that it doesn't run short of fabric. So this is 1.5 inches. So I will mark 1.5 inches here, and I will measure here whatever I have, about 1 inch. I'll replace it. Then I will draw my new armhole. So that is my new armhole line. Then I will impute the other measurement. For the bust, we have imputed our bust measurement already, so we are going with the bust measurement we input here. So for the underbust measurement, the underbust I'm working with is 35 inches. So 35 inches divide by 4. So measure your on whatever measurement you have, you divide it by 4. The one I'm working with is 8.75. I'll mark my 8.75 plus these 3 inches. Remember, this is 2 and this is 1. So plus the 3 inches. I will measure my waist measurement. So measure around your waist circumference, whatever you have, you divide it by 4. The one I have is 8.5. After dividing it by 4, Then I will add these 3 inches. Can you see? Then I will connect my points. So the next thing I will do now will be for me to try and chew my darts. Can you see? The essence of trying the dart is to have a straight line here. So I will raise this other dart leg to that point. Then I will draw my neckline. You can decide to make it deep. You can decide not to make it deep. It depends on what you want. So I will curve it to this point. Can you see? That is the neckline that I want. So the next thing now will be for me to cut my pattern. But before cutting my pattern, I will impute my bust dart. So for me to impute my bust dart, that will be the difference between my front waistline and the back waistline. So on this, my bust line, I will come down by 2 inches. The difference between my front and my back neck waistline is 2 inches. You can measure your own from your shoulder to where you have your waist for the front and measure for the back. Then you will see they are not the same measurement. So whatever measurement you have, then you impute it. So that is my bust dart. So what I will do now will be for me to add my sewing allowance, so that when I go to my fabric, I will not add sewing allowance again. So I'm going to make use of 2 inches sewing allowance. So now let's cut our pattern. I will extend my bust dart leg to the sewing allowance. So as you can see, I have hove my bust dart, and I will use this pattern to cut my fabric. So I'm taking this side to be my zipper allowance. So next thing is for me to impute my shoulder measurements. Remember, the shoulder we are working with is 17 inches. When you divide by 2, gives you 8 0.5. Then the neck measurement for the back will be 3 inches neck width and 1 inch neck depth. Then I will connect the line. Make this other line more visible. So the next thing now is for me to slope my shoulder. For the back will be 1/2 inch. Then I'll connect it to the neck width. So now I will impute my horizontal measurements. Remember, the armhole that we are working on is 8.1 inches. When I add this 1/2 inch, that will give me 8.6. Instead of me to start from this slope to draw, I'm adding this 0.5 so that I can measure from here to draw. The next line will be my waist line, and the waist line for the back is 16 inches. Remember, for the front was 18 inches. So the difference of that two was the bust that of 2 inches that we took for the front. After holding the darts, it will balance up the back and the front. Okay, so now I will draw a straight line to connect to my chest line. So let's name our line. This is our waist line, this is our chest line. So on the chest line, I will impute my bust measurement, which is 10 inches. And then we'll divide this other line, half of it, the same way we did for the front, but for the back I'm not going to come in. I'll just connect so the next thing will be for me to tighten the back to eliminate that zipper folding that we normally see. So on this line, that is the waistline, I will come in towards my side seam by 1/2 inch. Can you see? Then I will connect it to my neck there. You can decide to come down by 2 inches, but it does not really matter. The next thing I will do for me to impute my waist measurement. Then my waist measurement is starting from this point, not this 1/2 inch. Take note. So when I divide the waist, I'm working it by 4. It gives me 8.5 plus 1 inch that gives me 9.5. So I'll measure my 9.5. you don't know how to draft your basic bodies, I will drop the link on the description box. I have a detailed video on how to draft your basic bodies. Then you can check that out. So I will connect here to here. Then I will take my darts. My dart is starting from here as well. So half of my bust span, which is 4.5, I will mark that out. Remember our dart intake is 1 inch, so I will mark ½ inch on both sides. Then from the chest line, the dart is starting 1 inch below the chest line. I'll connect to this dart leg and this other one. So that is my dart. The next thing I will do will be for me to determine where my half shoulder will start. Remember, for the front was 5 inches below the shoulder, so the back will be the same thing. So I will measure my 5 inches below the shoulder. So now let's mark our zipper allowance. Our zipper allowance will not be straight because of this shaping. So let's mark our zipper allowance. I will use a 1.5 inches zipper allowance. So I will mark that out. So my zipper allowance is starting from this 0.5 inches point, not from here. So I will connect to have a straight line. So this is my new zipper allowance. So I will impute my seam allowance, making use of 2 inches, the same way we did for the front. So that is my seam allowance. So we cut the pattern. So these are my pattern paper. Can you see the front, the 2 front and the back? I'm going to use it to cut my fabric. So see you on our next tutorial, which we will pad the bustier. Bye bye.